All right, other estimates. I know this is a big one, and I want to be clear here. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how do I handle this at the very end of the estimate. Got my usual flow charts to help you, work through and practice and role play on this objection. But the truth is, the best way to reduce the likelihood of getting other estimates is not what you do at the end of the estimate, it's what you do throughout the estimate. So I think that's a really important thing to know. And if I see a sales guy's most common objection is other estimates, I'm going to tell them what you should be working on in the immediate future with your estimates is focus on two main things. One is how can you customize the estimate for your customer? And then two is separate yourself from other contractors. Because think about it, why do people get other estimates? It really just comes down to value. You might be thinking, well, they're price shopping, they're trying to get the best price. That's true, but like what if two prices are the exact same? They're gonna pick one and it's actually based on value, like which one at that price offered the most value for them. So the reason why customizing and separating yourself is so powerful is because all of a sudden a shift happens in the homeowner's perspective. They realize like they want to get these comparative apples to apples estimates so they can see, which one is a better price, but you're so different and unique, they literally can't do that. It would be like comparing apples to oranges. So getting other estimates no longer is even a thought or a thing in their mind. It literally almost like can't even be another objection. Now, obviously this is to a degree. You're still going to get other estimates, but I really do believe that that is how you can eliminate getting other estimates and hopefully book more jobs or at least get a different objection. Because a lot of times when they say other estimates, that isn't what they actually mean. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but let's still focus on like why people get other estimates. It's because they're trying to figure out what the best value is. So it is literally your job to try to figure out and understand what is the most value to the customer. But it's really important to know, if you look at my secret to sales video, you're not trying to sell them, you're trying to help them. So you're also trying to help the customer understand for themselves, like what is the best value for them and what are they looking for? Because they're not, educated on paint like you are. They don't think and talk about this stuff all the time. So you can really help them. And if you're there to help them, it'll go a long way. And ironically, by just trying to figure this out with them and ask those important questions, and by trying to like customize the estimate to really fit their needs and wants, you're just naturally going to be separating yourself from other contractors, because in reality, a lot of your competition is not going to do that. So if they've already received other estimates, you're going to really just start to separate yourself and stand out. Or even if they end up to go on and get other estimates, you're going to be more remembered, you're going to stand out more, and they're going to be more likely to hire you. So you're going to figure out what their wants and needs are, and you're going to try to tailor it within reason as much as you can. I'm not saying go out and change your whole operating procedure just for this one client. I think it's just as important to tell them what you can't do as what you can do. The last thing you want to do is start over promising, but again, by just having this conversation with them, I promise you it's going to go a long way and make you stand out. Now, the truth is, yes, you are going to lose some jobs. You're going to realize when you're talking with the homeowner that, I'm not actually the best fit for you, and I actually know who or what is the best fit for you. And they're going to be blown away when you just basically tell them like, hey, I think you should do this. Like, you shouldn't actually hire me. You should hire this other guy based on these reasons and what you're telling me. But what is going to happen is they're going to realize like, wow, this person is trustworthy. And you'd actually be surprised. Some people value trust over some little nuance product or service thing. And some even value it a little bit more than that. And they'll actually hire you anyway. Or at the very worst case scenario, they realize like, hey, I really appreciate you telling me that. But you might even still get referrals from them, because when somebody else asks them about painting, it's like, you know what? I do know a guy and he is trustworthy. He did the right thing by me. You should give him a call and see if he's the right fit for you. But if that's your fear, like that rarely ever happens. And usually if it's a big thing, you're going to sniff that out on the initial phone call. Like, if it's a service you don't offer, like we don't do popcorn ceiling removal, you're probably going to figure that out on the phone call and never actually get to the estimate. So anything that is like that is probably going to be really small and not that big of a deal. We used to not do wood replacement for exterior, and we would still book the job plenty of times, especially when they liked us and they're just okay with, hey, I'm going to go out and hire somebody else to do the wood replacement. So just be listening and figuring out what's important to them. They're going to tell you things like, oh, I hired a contractor, I had a bad experience, or, I kind of want to change colors, but I'm a little bit worried I'm not that good, but I do want my house to like pop out and impress my neighbors. Or, what, I just keep touching up these railings and they just keep failing. Like, what is going on? Is there anything we can do extra there? These little things that you can pick up on and learn and see if there is anything that you can tailor and customize for their specific needs. So I can go on for hours about different ways to separate yourself from other contractors, and really customizing the estimate is going to be specific for a lot of companies. So I don't want to waste any more time there. This video is going to be long enough. Let's move on to one of the other reasons why someone might say they want to get other estimates, but not be 100% if that's actually what they want to do. Sometimes people aren't 100% sure on what they're going to be doing, so they might just say other estimates when it might be a 50-50 chance. The reality is like, hey, if you do a really good job, you build a lot of trust with me, and I think your price is good, I'm just going to sign up right now. But rather than telling you that, I'm going to say other estimates because, I might do that if I just don't get that warm, fuzzy feeling. Also, just kind of the, perspective of the homeowner, really think about it. They may think, maybe not always, but they might think like, if I tell them I'm going to be price shopping around, that ensures that they're going to give me the best possible price that they can. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that because I just think that's like, a good strategy or something like that. Now, the other reason they might say other estimates is because the answer is no, or there's another objection there, which we're going to talk about here soon on how to try to figure out what is really going on, what's the real objection if it isn't actually other estimates. Now, I wanted to bring up that first case scenario because they're usually going to say that towards the beginning of the estimate, and there's a lot more communication going on than just what's verbally said. The way that you hold yourself, your posture, the look in your eyes, your facial expressions, the tone in your voice, all of these are communicators to the homeowner. So when they say, I think, or I'm going to be getting other estimates, they're going to pick up on anything nonverbal that you do, and that may alter their decision, because if you're there to sell them and not help them, and you hear that and you're like, oh man, great, my chances of getting the job just went down, I'm going to have to follow up with this guy for a long time. If those thoughts are running through your head, they're going to be able to pick up on that and see that. And that could be enough for you to not actually get the job. Versus if you're there to actually help them and you're like, oh, other estimates? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what you're telling me right now is that you want the best value for yourself and you're willing to do some work to get the best value. So my job is to help you understand what the best value is. Let's work together. Let's figure out what's important to you. And if you choose to get those other estimates, I can explain and teach you what to look for and how to evaluate things to figure out what's the best value for you. When it comes from that perspective and they pick up on that, it's going to build a lot of trust. And sometimes that trust is more valuable to them than getting other estimates. So all of a sudden that objection just vanishes. So really think about that and make sure that you're there to help them, and you'll be surprised what that can do to your booking rate. But now let's get to probably what a lot of you guys are here watching this video for is, okay, it's the very end of the estimate, you close and they say, I want to get other estimates. What do you say? How do you handle that? So I got my flow chart and I'm going to show you exactly how I like to handle this objection. The first thing that I almost always say, just depending on how the estimate went, but usually what I say is, okay, great. After you get those other estimates, if I have the best value, are you going to hire me? Now there's a lot to unpack there, and I really love saying that because first I'm acknowledging, yeah, getting other estimates, great. I'm saying after. So I'm assuming like, cool, you're going to get other estimates. I'm not fighting that. I just want to know after that is done, if I'm the best value, will you hire me? So I'm asking, is all you're really trying to do is get the best value for yourself? Is that all that's there? Because sometimes their answer to that will be the real objection if other estimates isn't it. It's like, actually, I just don't know if I'm going to paint this year. That was a little bit more than I was expecting, and that's just not in the finances. Like, I don't know if I'm actually going to paint this year. In which case, now you know the real objection and you can go and handle that objection. But the most common answer to that is, yeah, obviously, yeah. And what I think when I hear that, yeah, it's like, okay, great. We've just established that all you're trying to do is maximize the value. So now I'm either going to explain if I didn't have a chance earlier or review if I did have a chance earlier, how my price is determined. Now I know this might be different for everybody. If you just kind of eyeball a job or just make up a number, then this really won't apply to you. But the way that we come up with our price is it's all standardized. So I'm not just like making up numbers. It's, a very methodical way. You can see my estimating sheets. I'll actually show the homeowner and show them how I can interact with it and adjust the price. And I want to make sure that they understand, like, look, the two ways that I can make the price go up or down is by affecting the materials or the labor. But a big thing I want to hit on is something that's really cool is you can actually get the same amount of painting done, have the same amount of protection and surface area painted, but by just changing the color scheme, we can drastically affect the amount of labor it's going to take to produce the job. Now, this is especially true on exterior. If we start removing window trim or corner boards, that's going to really drop the price. And I'm just trying to ensure and understand their value value, which a lot of times this happens earlier in the estimate because you'll be going over this stuff based on the feedback you're getting from them. But I like to tell them like, look, I can get this price a lot down. We're just going to remove some of the trim, but it's still going to be painted and protected. And I like to make the point because I know some people think, no, I don't want to have like a cheap paint job and make it look not as good as it could look. I like to explain like, it doesn't make your house look cheap. Actually, what's happening right now, at least in the area that I live in, it's trending right now for those high-end, newer homes to have less trim. You know, a designer might be like, oh, it's less busy, it's more elegant, whatever words they're going to put in there. But I will actually show them pictures of really nice, expensive, great-looking homes that don't have a lot of trim, and like they actually have the trim board around the window, but it's painted body color, and they actually have corner boards, but they're painted body color, just to show them like, no, this looks great. And sometimes they're like, wait a minute, I can make my house look better and save money? Why didn't you bring this up before? And hopefully I did, but then they realize like, okay, they start to understand like their value. So either I'm showing them this or I already kind of explained it and just reviewing it, and I'll just kind of check and make sure it's like, hey, is there any other options that it could potentially give you more value that you want me to break out and show you? And sometimes they'll be like, yeah, actually, I would like to know like, what's the price difference if we do this or that, or if I were to use this paint versus that paint, or whatever the case is. And then you're back into the sale. They say yes, so show them the new price and then close again. It's like you show them the new price. All right, cool. So yeah, we can do this, and that. It brings the price, saved you $1,000. What do you say? You want to do it? And a lot of times they'll sign up, or a lot of times they'll just be like, no, this is the paint job I want, and they say no. And after I establish that, if you think about it, value is the product, the service, right? And then the price. So we just went over that this is exactly what you're looking for. That's essentially what I'm trying to establish with that chain of communication. So now I'm going to go over and just straight up ask them, what do you think of my price? There's a lot of different ways you can do it, and kind of depending on the flow of the estimate, I might ask it in a different way. You know, one of my favorite ways to ask is, so was my price lower than what you were expecting? And they're gonna say either, no, it was higher than I was expecting, I had no idea or no expectation of price, or it was lower. So when they have no expectation or the price was lower than what they were actually expecting, I go to my last close where I just try to be as present, sincere, and genuine as possible. I'm like, hey, I really appreciate the time you took here with me today. You know, I really would like to work with you. Before I leave, is there anything else I can do to earn your business today? And you'd be surprised, that last close, which I don't feel is being pushy, I'm just thanking them for their time and letting them know like, I want to work with you, and is there just anything else I can do to earn your business right now? Sometimes they'll be like, well, you know, and they might say something. A lot of times what ends up happening is they might try to negotiate price, and I never offer negotiating price unless they ask, and that's a case-by-case basis. But sometimes, you know, it's like a $5,000 job, I'm at like 51.25, and just by asking that, they'll be like, you know what, I mean, if you do it for $5,000 right now, I'll go ahead and sign up. And it's like, oh, I'm not gonna let $125 come between you and me doing business. You know, that $125, I'll look at that as a marketing fee, because now I've established a relationship with you. You can give me referrals, and next time you need painting, now I'm your painter, I'm your guy. So I'm definitely going to not worry about $125 on a $5,000 job. Now I know every situation is different. If you're a sales guy, you might not be able to negotiate price, but maybe you are getting paid commission. It's like you're gonna make $500 on this job. Maybe if you eat $100 of your commission to be able to get the job right now and get that $400, maybe that's worth it to you than, you know, leaving and having the chance that you're gonna miss out on that full $500. That can only be up to you. But I do think it's a better strategy to never like offer any money off the job. Like I would never say, hey, what if I took some money off? Would you sign up then? I never do that. I only ever negotiate price when the homeowner brings it up first, and that's usually when it happens when I do that last close. Like, is there anything else I can do to earn your business? All right, now when I ask them, you know, what do they think of my price, and they let me know, actually that's a lot more than I was expecting, or that was more than I was expecting, then I genuinely really explain to them how they can get a better price. And I'm not talking about when I previously talked about how you could change price with changing materials or labor. I'm talking about how you can save money by going with a different company. So depending on where you are, right? If you are just getting started, you're a one-man show, you have no employees or nothing like that, then I'm gonna say, hey, look, the way that you're gonna be able to save money is, you know, I have no overhead. It's just me. So my price is actually about as low as you're gonna get. The only way you're gonna be able to save money is if you can find somebody else like me that's willing to work for less, like take a lower wage. And you probably could find that out there, but I'm just letting you know, like, you're gonna want to look for a guy like me that's just willing to do it for less. And I might even, give them some advice on how to do that if that's what they're actually wanting and looking for, because I'm there to help them. Now, let's talk about if I was actually doing the estimate. I have a company, we have employees and all that, and I'm gonna explain, like, if you really want a better price, what you're gonna be looking for is like to hire my actual painters. Be like, it happens all the time, the homeowner might be like, hey, psst, like when we're actually painting, it's like, hey, could I pay you, away from Paint Pals just to come in and like do some side work on the weekend, maybe paint this bedroom or something? Like, how much do you make? Oh, you make like 25 an hour. I'll pay you $30 an hour or something like that. It's like, that's going to be your best price, is just finding somebody who knows how to paint and paying them like a wage. Another thing you could do is try to hire like a subcontractor that would normally work for a bigger company and get them to paint the house at a lower cost. And then when I bring that up, I'm going to explain, like, you can save money there because there's no overhead. There's nothing else. It's very slim. It's just a guy painting. And then I explain like where the value is there and like what they're giving up. And it's like, the concern there is, what if they start showing up late? What if they say they're going to scrape sand and prime and they start skipping steps on the prep? Like, there's nobody to call. And if you like call them out on it and you say you're not happy and things start going south, it can just be a very awkward situation. And everybody's different. Some guys are totally fine with that and okay with that. And that's actually what they're looking for. And since I'm there to help them, I'm going to explain to them, like, if you go to Craigslist and you put up an ad that you're looking for a subcontractor to do some painting, be kind of vague. Don't let them know you're a customer. Make it almost look like you're a painting company. You might be able to find some better pricing, and that's going to be where your absolute best deal is. The risk is, there's a lot of good painters and a lot of bad painters. My experience is we go through a lot of different subs before we find one that works, but that's really where you're going to be able to get the best deal. So by doing that, I really understand, like, what is their value? And if that is what they're looking for, like, they're on a budget, they really need to get this done, but they just spending that kind of money for like a good, safe, secure job is not worth it. It's worth for them to take a risk and even make like a bad hire just to get this job done at a better price. Then that's what they should do, and that's what they should go for. But a lot of times they'll end up saying no. They'll be like, well, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I definitely want like a company to do it. I definitely want somebody that has warranties or whatever it is. They just say no for whatever reason. Then I'll go to that last close. Okay, cool. Appreciate your time. I would like to work with you. Is there anything else I can do to earn your business? Because as you like go through this conversation that flows, it's like, oh, cool, you're just looking for value. All right, well, is there anything I can change on my services to give you better value? No. Okay. Is the price good? Oh, you think it's a little high? Okay, here's how you save money. Oh, you don't want to do that? Okay, well, hey, is there anything else I can do to earn your business? You kind of walk them through the whole idea of why they're getting other estimates, and sometimes they'll be like, you know what, let's do this. That's kind of the logic and how it all comes together, at least how it's intended to. All right, so you do that last close and they're like, no, there's nothing else you can do. Appreciate your time. You did great. I'll give you a call soon, whatever. After that, I try to get commitment either now or as soon as possible. And what I mean by that, it kind of goes back to my first question. It's like, hey, if I am the best value after you get those other estimates, are you going to hire me? It's like, yes. That's commitment. It's a verbal commitment to saying, yeah, if you're the best, I will go with you. Now, depending on your psyche and how you feel about it will depend on like how much commitment you want to get. Because I really do think you should be genuine here. But I would remind you, think about it. It's like you just took 1 to 2 hours out of your day to give this person a completely free estimate. I don't think asking for a commitment on when they're going to give you an answer is unreasonable. So like a very hard commitment, which if you don't feel comfortable doing this, then don't do it, because they're going to pick up on that. And for you, it's not comfortable. You could do what I've heard be called like the check close or something. You could say something like, okay, well, it sounds like as long as I'm the best price and value after you get those other estimates, you're going to go with me. And if that happens, the next step would be I would come back out and get you to sign and then collect that down payment from you. But to actually save both of ourselves some time, something that we could do is if I could get your signature now and the down payment, we can post date it. Or if I'm getting credit card information, I can wait to run it till after you get those other estimates. That way it just saves ourselves some time. And you know what? If it turns out you get those other estimates and you decide that you want to go with someone else, that's totally fine. I'll rip this check up or I'll shred your credit card information and this contract will be void and we can go our separate ways. What do you think about that? That's what sometimes is called like the check close. Basically it's saying like, okay, sign now, and you could put something on the contract like, this contract isn't good till after, you know, whatever the dates are that you need for them to get the estimates. And then if they're giving you a check, post date it for that time, or yada yada. That just shows like if they really trust you. Now, in some cases, that may seem a little bit pushy, and I'll be honest, I really don't do that very often. I have done that in the past. It just depends on the homeowner, but it's not a very common thing. Another way you could get commitment, you could say something like, okay, so you're getting those other estimates on Friday. Okay, do you think that you could give me an answer by Saturday? And they're like, yeah, Saturday works. I should know by then because, you know, I'll have the other estimates. It's like, oh, awesome, great. And then you just want to try to make sure you follow up with them on Saturday. The easiest way to follow up is you'll see on my CRM, you can actually just pull up your follow-up list. It'll put them in order, top to bottom, most important to least important. Just always be clearing that list. And it's so easy. You just press the text button and you can text them real quick. Nowadays, in my opinion, that's the best way to follow up with your clients, is just text them. You can even just copy paste the same message to all of your past estimates. Just like, hey, just following up, would you like to paint? Something like that. You can set an alarm on your phone to go off every single day that's like follow up with clients. Literally, if you keep that list short by doing it every day, it just takes like 5-10 minutes. You just, oh, alarm went off, go through, text everybody, change the follow-up date to when you think it's appropriate to send another text message to them, and you clear that list off. But what ends up happening is, because you got that commitment, this isn't true for everyone, but for some people, you know, they said, hey, I'm gonna give you an answer on Saturday. Well, Saturday comes along, they were supposed to get those estimates on Friday, but for whatever reason, they didn't get them. You know, life happens. Maybe they had something that came up. Maybe the other company had something that came up. You know, it was bad weather, or they got busy and moved it around, or they said, hey, I'm gonna email you, and they don't email you. And the next thing you know, Saturday comes along and they said, I'm gonna give you an answer by Saturday, and they don't wanna be out of integrity. They wanna be able to give you an answer. So then you follow up with them and it's like, you know what? This is just a sign. Like, I should just go with this guy. He showed up, the other guy didn't. He's following up, or whatever it is. Like, that little bit can actually increase your booking rate. Whether that's a 0.5%, a couple percent, doesn't matter. If it has even the chance of increasing your booking rate and it's so insignificant and such an easy little thing to do, why not do it? All right, so I hope you learned something here today. Appreciate you watching. I'll have all my sales videos linked down on a playlist in the description. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. If you liked the content, like, maybe even subscribe. See you in the next one.